Will couldn't help smiling to himself. Anything less like a ferocious, charging wild boar he couldn't imagine. How did you know he was there? He asked Holt in a soft voice. The ranger shrugged. Saw him a few minutes ago. You'll learn eventually to sense when someone's watching you. Then you know to look for them. Will shook his head in admiration. Holt's power of observation were uncanny. No wonder people at the castle held him in such awe. Now then, Holt said sternly, why are you skulking there? Who told you to spy on us? The old man rubbed his hands nervously together, his eyes flickering from Holt's forbidding expression to the arrow tip, lowered now but still knocked to the string on Will's bow. Not spying, sir. No spying. I heard you coming and thought you was that monster porker coming back. Holt's eyebrows drew together. You thought I was a wild boar? He asked. Again the farmer shook his head. No, he gabbled. Leastways, not once I'd saw you, but then I wasn't sure who you might be. Could be bandits, like. What are you doing here? Holt asked. You're not a local, are you? The farmer, anxious to please, shook his head once again. Come from over Willow Tree Creek, I do, he said. Been trailing that porker and hoping to find someone as could turn him into bacon. Holt was suddenly vitally interested. He dropped the mock severe tone in which he had been talking. You've seen the boar, then? He asked, and the farmer rubbed his hands again and looked fearfully round, as if nervous that the porker would appear from the trees any minute. Seen him, heard him, don't want to see him no more. He's a bad un, sir, mark my words. Holt glanced back at the tracks again. He's certainly a big one. Anyway, he mused. And evil, sir, the farmer went on. That un has a real devil of a temper in him. Why, he'd as soon tear up a man or a horse as have his breakfast, he would. So what did you have in mind for him? Holt asked, then added, What's your name, by the way? The farmer bobbed his head and knuckled his forehead in salute. Peter, sir, Saltpeter, they calls me, sure, on account of I likes a little salt on my meat, I do. Oh, what a nice side character he is. Holt nodded. I'm sure you do, he said patiently. But what were you hoping to do about this boar? Saltpeter scratched his head and looked a little lost. Don't rightly know. Hoped maybe I'd find a soldier or a warrior or a knight to get rid of him. Or maybe a ranger, he added as an afterthought. Will grinned. Holt stood up from where he'd gone down on one knee to examine the thinks in the snow. He dusted a little snow from his knee and walked back to where Saltpeter stood, nervously shuffling from one foot to another. Has he been causing a lot of trouble? The ranger asked, and the old farmer nodded rapidly several times. That he has, sir, that he has. Killed 3 dogs, tore up fields and fences. He has, and as near as anything, killed my son-in-law when he tried to stop him. Like I said, sir, he's a bad un. Holt rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He said. Well, there's no question that we'd better do something about it. He looked up at the sun, setting low to the horizon in the western sky, then turned to Will. How much daylight would you say it is left, Will? Will studied the position of the sun. These days Holt never missed an opportunity to teach him or question him or to test his knowledge and developing skills. He knew it was best to consider carefully before making an answer. Holt preferred accurate replies, not fast ones. A little over an hour, Will said. He saw Holt's eyebrows draw together in a frown and remembered that the ranger also disliked being answered with a question. Are you asking me or telling me? Holt said. Will shook his head, annoyed at himself. A little over an hour, he replied more comfortably, and this time the ranger nodded agreement. Correct. He turned to the old farmer again. Very well, Saltpeter, I want you to take a message to Baron Harold. Baron Harold? The farmer asked nervously. Holt frowned again. See what you've done, he said to Will. You've got him answering questions with questions now. Sorry, Will mumbled, grinning in spite of himself. Holt shook his head and continued speaking to Saltpeter. That's right, Baron Harold. You'll find his castle a couple of kilometers along this track. Saltpeter peered under one hand, looking along the track as if he could see the castle already. A castle, you say? He said in a wondering voice. I've never seen a castle. Holt slightly impatiently, keeping this old chatterbox mind on the subject was beginning to make him short-tempered. That's right, a castle. Now go to the guards at the gate. Is it a big castle? He asked the old fellow. It's a huge castle, Holt roared at him. Saltpeter bounced back in fright. He had a hurt look on his face. No need to bellow, young man, he said huffily. I were only asking is all. Well then, stop interrupting me, said the ranger. We're wasting time here. Now, are you listening? Saltpeter nodded. Good. Holt continued. Go to the guard on the gate and say you have a message from Holt for Baron Harold. A look of recognition spread across the old man's face. Holt, he asked. Not the ranger, Holt. Yes, replied Holt wearily. The ranger, Holt. The one who led the ambush of Mortag's warlogs? Asked Saltpeter. The same, said Holt in a dangerously low voice. Saltpeter looked around him. Well, he said, where is he? I'm Holt, the ranger thundered at him, placing his face a few centimeters from Saltpeter's as he did so. Again the old farmer recoiled a few steps. Then he gathered his courage and shook his head in disbelief. No, he said definitely. You can't be him. Why, the ranger Holt is as tall as two men, and as broad. A giant of a man he is, brave, fierce in battle he is. You couldn't be him. Holt turned away, trying to regain his temper. Will couldn't help the smile breaking out on his face again. I am Holt, said the ranger, spacing his words out so that Saltpeter couldn't make any mistake. I was taller when I was young and a lot broader, but now I'm this size. He thrust his glistening eyes closer to the farmer's and glared at him. Do you understand? Well, if you say so, said Saltpeter. He still didn't believe the ranger, but there was a very dangerous gleam in Holt's eyes that warned him it would not be wise to disagree any further. Good, said Holt icily. Now, tell the Baron that Holt and Will. Saltpeter opened his mouth to ask another question. Holt clamped his hand over the man's mouth impatiently and pointed to where Will stood beside Tug. That's Will there, said. Saltpeter nodded, his eyes wide over the hand that was clamped firmly over his mouth. Stopping any further questions or interruptions, the ranger continued, Tell him Holt and Will are tracking a wild boar. When When we find its lair, we'll return to the castle. In the meantime, the Baron should gather his men for a hunt tomorrow morning. He slowly took his hand down from the farmer's mouth. Have you got all that? The ranger asked. Saltpeter nodded carefully. Then repeat it back to me, Holt prompted. Go to the castle, tell the gate guard I have a message from you, Holt, for the Baron. Tell the Baron that you, Holt, and him, Will, are tracking a wild boar to find this lair. Tell him to have his men ready for a hunt tomorrow. Good, said Holt. He gestured to Will, and the two of them swung back into their saddles. Saltpeter stood uncertainly on the track, looking up at them. Off you go, said Holt, pointing in the direction of the castle. The old farmer went a few paces then. When he judged he was at a safe distance, he turned around and called back at the grim-faced ranger. I don't believe you, you know. Nobody grows shorter and thinner. Holt sighed and turned his horse away into the forest. Okay, well, thank you for listening to me read chapter 18. If you'd like to listen to me read chapter 19, please stay tuned and wait for the next chapter. Thank you, bye.